Space is a farce. There's a dome over us. NASA is a lying Freemason gang.
Hey, is the mic on? Hey, can you hear me up in the balcony up there? Let's get the show going. John Niems here. Now let's get to it. Today we are dealing with two major hoaxes all the time that are worldwide. It involves all governments and all media outlets. I can't even say the current hoax that's going on live, for it will get me a strike here.
Oh boy.
The other hoax worldwide that continues has been going on with the help of a tribe of liars parading as scientists. Charles Darwin gave us the Big Bang Theory. I stress it's a theory and never was proven, but it helped create the growing number of atheists that we see in the world today. Copernicus gave us the heliocentric theory that we're moving through space at unbelievable speeds. He had no science to that either, folks. Today, the controllers continue to take out of our lives a creator that gave us an immune system and a perfect enclosed, intelligent design right here on Earth. They continue to say experts say this, tell you that. Then they give you authorities to tell you what to do, what to say, how to live. But at the end of the day, it's all the same stuff. They create the problem, then the masses react, and then they have their solution all ready for you. So today on my show, I am honored to have Shelley Lewis here. We will discuss the big hoax and her new project she's been involved with, the new Flatlanders series. Let's get it going with my song, Same Old, Same Old.
I'm so tired of the powers that be using their fear-based lies. It's their playbook for centuries. Create chaos, then divide. Ooh, yeah. Show me something I believe. Ooh, yeah. It's time for something new. Ooh, yeah. It's the same fear frequency. Ooh, yeah. Tell us something true. I come home after a hard day's work and put on my TV. It's the same old fake news that I see. Ooh, yeah. Show me something I believe. Ooh, yeah. It's time for something new. Ooh, yeah. It's the same fear frequency. Ooh, yeah. Tell us something true.
So beautiful,
It's
Shelley.
time for a change in the world that we live. Time for the people to get wise. It's time to not be taken anymore by all their blatant lies. Ooh, yeah. Show me something I believe. Ooh, yeah. It's time for something new. Ooh, yeah. It's the same fear frequency. Ooh, yeah.
Yes, the same old continues. You got the controllers continuing to give us lies 24/7. The masses continue to believe it, and it's so, when you're awake, it's so hard to watch. Anyway, I'm happy to have my good friend, Shelley Lewis, back here. Last week I called her Shelley Lewis. That was the ventriloquist
I
night,
know,
but
man. That was,
I hope you don't
man,
have.
talk about humbling. That was
Well,
some
I got
serious
I got
compliment
even with you
there.
because you misspelled my name the first time you were on. But
I
anyway,
know, you give me this, you give me lamb chop. Like, what
yeah,
the
yeah, lamb chop. Anyway, happy to have you
hell?
here,
Thank
Shelley, and
you.
I can see you're not being afraid. You're living your life. You're doing things. You're out near the beach
Absolutely.
today, is what you told me today. Is that what you're up?
Yeah. Yep. At the harbor, I'm at the just loving the beach and doing some surfing and having a great time, spending time
Well,
with my kids.
didn't you know there's a pandemic going on? Are you not aware of
I know.
this?
I didn't get the memo. I guess, geez, everyone else is living in fear. I have no fear. It's kind of nice to not, there's not very many people. I mean, there are people living out here for sure, but man, when the first time the whole lockdown hit, like there was no one at the beach. So it was like having my own private beach. Just go do whatever I wanted, man. It was
Well,
pretty cool.
that's what I liked about Vegas here because I work all the time, and when I was driving around last year, it was great. Everyone was inside. I had no traffic anywhere. So when
It
I
was great. I know.
when I hit school zones, normally you got to go 15 miles an hour. I was stepping on the gas
Right.
through the school zones because no one was
That's great.
around. Anyway,
Yeah.
start the show today. Tell us kind of like your journey when you were in the military. A lot of people don't know you were in the military. How many years were you in the military?
Yeah, I was in the military 5 years. And so, a little background is, I came into the flat earth kicking and screaming. My
Like
brother told
all of
me,
us did.
yeah, all of us did. And so, when I was 12 years old, I went to a space camp in Huntsville, Alabama. I wanted to be an astronaut. I met Alan B. Shepard, and I thought for sure I want to be the first woman to walk the moon. And his career path kind of took him through the Naval Academy, but Buzz Aldrin went through West Point, and that's where I'm like, I'm going to West Point, because I wasn't really big on ships, even though now I'm totally like in love with boats and everything. And so fast forward to about 2010, my husband, he watched this video called "A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon," and he's like, the moon landings are fake. And I thought, you're totally crazy. Like those were fighting words to me
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted to be, an astronaut. And so I thought, no, this is like some weird thing, but whatever. And I filed it in the back of my head. And then around 2014, 2015, this flat earth thing came up. And, I was out to debunk it. I thought, forget these guys. They're a bunch of nuts, a bunch of nutters. And
And look how
uh,
nuts you are today.
I, I'm full on bona fide flat earther carrying card member, like so once I went out to debunk it, that's where people get in trouble. If you don't want to be a flat, if you really hate flat earth that much, don't try to prove them wrong because you're going to end up being a flat earther, and that's just what kind of happened. And so I became very passionate. But for me, the whole truth movement started for me personally was when I was medically discharged from the army. And then I would go from doctor to doctor and no one could freaking help me. And I'm like, there's something weird going on here. And then when I found help through a holistic regimen, something that was kind of, outside the box, and a lot of weirdos go there. So, there's no proof in holistic medicine. When I went there and I got help, I was like, oh, shoot, there's a lot of things that they're not telling us that's the truth. And so it started with the agenda. I got tons of vaccines when I was in the military, and so I got pretty sick. And then when the doctors couldn't help me because they're all about disease care, they're not about health care. Then I looked outside the box. I got better, and so then it's like my mind was open to like, okay, well maybe 9/11 is probably an inside job, and then the whole thing with the flat. But when the flat Earth came up, that was like the granddaddy of all things. And I'm like, I didn't go there. until I went there, and then I was like, I'm never going back. I'm
Exactly. Once
flat
you go
earther.
flat, you don't
Yeah,
go back. I always say. But now we got
yeah.
this parallel thing to me with and you bring up medicine, the toxic medicines and poison vaccine. I can't say what. Poison
Right.
jabs.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
yeah.
see. We see we're in divided states of communist America right now. Anyway, anybody listen? You're listening to me? Okay, okay. Let me talk. Okay, please
Yeah.
don't give me a strike. I mean,
Don't
but that's what
censor
we're
me.
up against, and they're parallel to me, very much parallel, because you have medical schools teaching to give the jabs, to give
Hmm.
medication, not nutrition. They don't teach you anything about nutrition. Then you got the physicists who have all that math going on with that school. And these to me right now are the biggest hoax going parallel. Even though 9/11 is going on 20 years, they're never going to tell
Hmm.
the truth. And did you hear Donald Rumsfeld died? Did you hear that?
I did not.
Okay, Rumsfeld too.
When?
By the way, got was that? Yeah, he died today. By the way, Rumsfeld,
Oh,
if you don't know, made $12 million to get that great aspartame into diet sodas, which once it caused cancer in rats, then the FDA approved it, and Donald Rumsfeld, look it up, folks, made $12 million to get that through. I mean, see, they have their
wow.
tentacles in all this stuff, in the oil, and and by the way, now we're knowing more about it. All energies, there's free energies everywhere,
Yep.
electrical, magnetic, and that's the thing about once you get on. I call it the stationary Earth now. I don't call it flat. You got to scare people. It's just stationary. Just ask
Okay.
yourself: Are we
Yeah.
Are we moving? Do you feel any movement? Uh,
Right. Is
and,
there a curve?
yeah,
Is
and is
there
the sun?
the non-curved stationary Earth?
And the sun and the moon are close. They don't appear very far to me. Not the
Well,
distances we were taught. Oh, and next song we're going to play later after we talk a while, but I'm going to play Black
okay.
Holes today because
Okay.
remember the black holes when they saw the black hole a year ago or so,
Yeah.
and
It looked like a big
they
donut.
showed yeah glazed donut was the picture, and they said the distance was 500 million light years away.
Light
Like
years.
David Weiss and I were talking last week, the numbers are just staggering. Always, they're just that
Always.
so
They
many.
got to keep things so out of reach.
Exactly. Now, when you started your quest to have the Flatlanders going with now you
Yeah.
said Wendell Walton and David Hunt. How did
Yep.
that begin with you three starting to get this going? Because it's taken you how long?
Two years.
The launch is starting next August. That's why we're doing it
Yep.
now, folks. By the way, we're gonna have all the links for the Flatlanders, and you got to start going. You're gonna have chapters. Is that what you're gonna have going?
Yeah. So we have multiple seasons with um, multiple episodes.
Oh, episodes.
So it's definitely it's like having triplets all upon triplets. I mean, it's like my baby. It's been insane for 2 years, and it's I started off with a debunk from behind the curve because I was just so pissed at how
That was a
all
hit.
these
It
hit
was a hit
pieces.
piece, is what it was.
Yeah, it was a hit piece. And so that started me just to say, well, don't we get a say? I mean, I'm so sick and tired of people trying to betray us and then laugh at us. And then, it's like, okay, no news. I guess people can say, well, if there's no news, then there's no information that people can hear. So even bad news and ridicule news is still getting information out there. But I thought, I'm sick and tired of that. I want to tell our side of the story and show that we're not just a bunch of um, people who are not critical thinkers. We have pilots and we have doctors and we have people who are engineers and college graduates. Not that I put any stock in that, but the outside world does, right? So they say, oh well, these guys, they don't even have a college education. They never went to high school. That they didn't graduate, and so I'm like, you know what? You have no idea how smart the flat earth group community really is, and we're critical thinkers, and we don't need to go to college just because some of us have degrees, which we all know that's a system
That's
that is
mockery
just,
too. The degrees, the
yeah,
square caps, and all that stuff. And remember
right.
what
And
Mark
so,
Twain said: "Don't let schooling interfere with your education." So,
oh, I love that quote. I'll
yeah,
put that
yeah,
in the
that's
book.
one of my favorites.
Wow. Yeah, so to make a long story short, just with people about education, look, if you want to get an education, go for it. If it's something that you need to do to pursue, you want to be um, I don't know, like an engineer, a civil engineer, you need to go to college or whatever to do that, to have the credentials. You want to be a psychologist, you got to go to school to get that, or whatever, like a dentist, right? You got to
Yeah,
learn how to
right,
like
right.
work on teeth. But don't shut someone down just because they don't have your indoctrinated education of how you're taught to believe. For the most part, I will say that, flat earthers are probably some of the most intelligent, critical thinking people out there because they've questioned the narrative and they have really, and myself included, we have a lot of evidence
Right. And
that's
what I said to David last week was, do you think any stationary earther believed what's going on now on day one? I don't think anyone did. I,
you know what, they got sucked into the Q anonymous thing. There's a lot of people
well,
that
but
sucked into
that, but
that.
they didn't
Yeah,
believe, they didn't, for the most part, didn't believe any of this
right. No,
certificate
right,
of, jab ID. They didn't believe it.
right. AI and all that
Yeah,
stuff. But the
if you're awake to the stationary Earth, you didn't buy any of this that's going on now, for the most part.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, for the most part, people were like, we saw it coming, didn't we? It's like we see the writing on the wall when we start seeing, and I've been following the whole jab agenda for a long time. And, being from California, there was a law that went into effect where they started pushing this idea that the unjabbed were spreading.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. We're the
yeah. And
problems.
so we're the problem. And so they had to make a law about it. And, we fought. We're like, you can't just, this is my body, my choice. There are certain, you know, rules at play with informed consent. You can't just force people into a medical procedure that has serious consequences.
And this one
Um,
has so many which they're ignoring in the mainstream.
yeah,
And that's what I came up with. What's the difference between rape and mandatory jab? There's nothing. At the end
there's
of the day.
nothing. Your body, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
invading someone's body.
yeah.
Oh,
And
it's wicked.
if you do the research on that, it's staggering. And this is what I try to get people to look. The great book that I have here right now, which I gave you one with Edward Hendry.
Yep.
I've handed out about 60, 70 of those right now. And I get people, I said, listen, just do your own research, use common sense, use critical thinking. And I ask people every day, do you go outside, look at the sun. Is it seem 93 million miles away? Stand out there and feel, do you feel the 1,000 mile an hour rotation? I mean,
Right.
that's just, that's how they used to always feel. Everything's going around us, you know?
Right. And what people don't know is there's this big alien agenda. There's this idea that, look, if you're this ball spinning in all these multiple directions and you're one of bazillions of planets just like yourself out there, there's this idea that there's intelligent life and they're going to come and they're going to take over this planet and you know more fear porn constant. But what they don't know is this agenda 21, and then of course the what is it? Project Bluebeam
Yeah, and
and
then there's
Project
Agenda
Stargate.
30. They got all these agendas.
Mm.
Project Bluebeam,
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Agenda
Yeah,
40.
yeah, blue. Yeah, blue.
Bluebeam, tell us about Project Bluebeam.
Yeah,
Oh,
Project Bluebeam. What is that one again?
okay.
The
So Project
holographic, right?
Bluebeam. Well, let's start. Let's just kind of start from the whole Operation Paperclip, and you have Werner von Braun, who was part of that whole Operation Paperclip, and he gets hired by the United States CIA. And then what's formed is he gets hired by the United States government, and then what two things are formed is the CIA and NASA. And NASA, of course, weaponized space. They weaponized our ability to actually explore our own realm that we live in. It became government owned. And then also you have the whole south of the equator, you have Antarctica, the ring that's also been militarized through the UN agenda, to make it so that you can't explore past the 60th parallel. Well, Werner von Braun, who started NASA, before he died, he basically had a deathbed confession. And one of the things he said, one of the last things that were going to happen was going to be this fake alien invasion. And so Operation Bluebeam is that fake alien invasion. It's also called Operation Stargate or something like that. Um, Something like that. And what they're going to do is they're going to, which is why they're spraying the skies. They're getting taking away our ability really to see what's above us. They're going to do some holographic technology to impersonate an alien invasion or even like a second coming of Jesus.
Right.
And people are going to buy it. And they're going to think, well, this planet needs a reform. And so we're coming over here to take it over. And, we're here to save the planet, blah, blah, blah. And what it's going to do is it's going to deceive a lot of people. And I think it's going to deceive a lot of Christians because they're going to think Jesus is coming. And we're going to just do whatever he says.
Right. Well, think about this too about chemtrails and about blocking the sun, which is what Billy Goat is always talking about.
Right.
If they couldn't block the sun if it was 93 million miles, they know it's an enclosed system and they know it's close. And the only way you can block a sun or the moon, whatever they're talking about, is that's with the chemtrails, is if we're enclosed. 93 million miles away, you're not going to block anything that far away. Come off it.
Wow.
I mean, just think about that about the chemtrails. I've been saying that for a long time now. That if they really are trying to do that, which I've heard, and then the global warming thing that they always want to say. I mean, there's no science in that. I mean, if anyone's listening here that believes anything by the government, anything by the media, of any government, of any media, they are all in on this stuff. That's what they want to lock down. Remember, it's funny too. You came on the show in November last year, and what has really changed? Well, they're giving us this illusion now that everything's back to normal, but it really isn't because they're ready to pounce on us at any time. And like Sydney, Australia, they closed down for what?
Again?
Yeah. Well, I got a good friend in Australia, and he's telling me, he says, there's not. At any beckon moment, they want to do it a little. But do you remember the thing? I think I said to you last time. If the mask works, why the 6 feet of separation? If the 6 feet works, why the mask? If the lockdowns work, then why the rush to vaccinate? And if the vaccines works, why the no liability clause? Wait, I should. If the jab works, I got the jab.
Just bleep it. We'll bleep it out.
You can't say that. We're so censored right now. It's ridiculous right now.
Yeah, why can't we really express our own views? That we're not doctors, okay? We're not trying to tell everybody that this is what we're prescribing, but it's our body, our choice. And we're trying to get the word out. During our research, look, this thing hasn't even been tested. Even though they say, well, it's been tested. No, it's not. It's emergency use. Well, even if it was tested, it doesn't work.
But all vaccines are not tested. That's what people don't know. All vaccines have not tested on the insert, and they all tell what's in them, and what's in them is nothing you want.
And they test it, but it's mostly once they've administered it to everybody, then you become the test subject.
Yeah, we're lab rats. Welcome to the lab rat community.
Hey, Shelley, what do you think of lunar eclipses?
Yeah, lunar eclipses. Now, do you have chapters coming up on that?
Yeah,
soon?
we're going to cover that in our docu-series. A lot of these questions that people have, see, here's the thing. You can't necessarily cover every. We switched. We originally were going to do kind of a documentary, and it was just going to be like a rebut to Behind the Curve. And then as we started going into this, it's impossible to really do it justice by 1 2-hour program. That's not going to get you much. All that's going to try to do is get people thinking, but where do they go after that? And so we want to just basically develop these ideas through episodes and our subject matter experts. And we have real experiments and we have real data that, people going to have to watch and see, but it's empirical data that proves that where we live is not what we've been told.
Now, when you start in August, what's going to be your first things you start with in August?
Well, I can't really give it away, but we're actually going to be premiering it at Take on the World in Ohio, August 20th of this year. And I'll be speaking there with as well as Wendell Walton. And David is actually trying to get across the border to get to America so he can come help us premiere it. He's in Canada. But the first episode is, without giving too much away, we're going to cover, well, let's just say this. We're going to cover a lot of topics. And we're going to go into the whole forensics of this stationary Earth. And, we're not just having it be one side. We're actually holding the so-called experts feet to the fire. So we've got an interview with I can't say. I can't say.
You can't
Just have
say
to
it.
wait. Yeah. You
Well,
have to wait. Sorry.
aren't you going to get Neil deGrasse Disgrace Tyson on at some
He
point?
won't. Well, right now he's kind of, they're running. They're running scared, like your song. They
Right.
have, yeah, Scott Kelly was basically approached about, what do you have to say about flat earthers? And his response was, I try not to. So, and then I did an interview with Jubilee Media, which we've actually have now like 17 million. It was called Flat Earthers versus Scientists. And we just crossed the 17, we're almost at 18 million views. And the comments, though, just hundreds of thousands of comments, people, making fun of us, laughing at us. But there's some sincere people asking questions. And so then I did a follow-up interview with one of the scientists. And this was during the whole COVID lockdown thing. So it was on Zoom. And they reached out to Scott Kelly to say, hey, would you be willing to come on the show? And he just said flat earthers are basically, he said flat earthers are the worst of the worst. And so these people, they won't, what are they afraid of? Hey, if you can debunk us in 5 minutes, come on, let's do it. But they know that we have some serious points to contend with, and their gig is up. If they keep trying to lie to the people, we want our money back. So
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
so
Now, when I originally wrote Black Holes, it was a few years ago. The NASA was getting 52 million a day. Now I think they're getting 64 million a day.
okay, interesting. I know it's 58. It had gone up.
Well, I know it
Oh,
keeps going up, and they get
well,
like,
the whole COVID thing. This is what pissed me off. It's like you have all these people, they're losing their jobs, they're losing their livelihood,
oh
they're
yeah, yeah,
losing
yeah.
everything. And you know where they gave some of that stimulus money to?
The NASA,
NASA.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's the non-essential people are non-essential even more now,
Yeah,
and the rich have gotten the billionaires have made trillions of dollars on this.
right,
The middle class has gone bye-bye, and that's the
right.
whole design. And
Yeah.
and I said this at the beginning too. If everybody was an adult when this began, a real adult, and a real adult doesn't take orders, because if you think about
Hmm.
how it's like a military. When you have prisoners of war, what do? They isolate them. They put a mask on them. They make them afraid. And also,
Mm,
if you want to treat children, I had a firsthand account of a little girl asked the teacher when they went back to school, "We're not making any friends now," and
mm,
the teacher, and because the teacher looked at the kid, "We're separated and we have masks. How are we supposed to make friends?" Now that teacher reprimanded that little girl and told the principal, "This is a troublemaker." The little girl was thinking on her own. See, they don't want anybody to think on their own. That's what's
no.
going on more and more now than ever. And I mean that when I heard how they reprimanded a little girl for just asking, "How are we going to make
Wow.
friends?" And that's what
Wow.
that's what I tell all adults when I see adults with their kids, little kids with face diapers on. They're not being adults. And
No.
and that's what's going on. All the people going along with this worldwide, the people that are pushing back are all looked at as the enemy. We're the enemy, which the media will show us because we're not going
Hmm.
along.
Yeah.
Another quote I saw was, we're being told to do this from liars, thieves, pedophiles, and psychopaths, and yet people look at us for not. The people with the mass that are obeying look at us as not as virtuous as they are because they're going along with it. No, everybody
Yeah.
should push back. There isn't a person out there that should do anything. Now they're going to say to go back to the face diapers, and they're going to say there's a new variant out there. And Doctor, you know who? I won't say his
Yeah.
name.
The F word.
The man who came up with the PCR test said it
Oh, right.
doesn't even tell you
Very smart.
if you're sick. It doesn't even tell you if you're sick,
Yep.
and everybody's
Could be
still going.
anything.
And he said Dr. F doesn't even he knows nothing. He doesn't know anything about anything was his quote. And this poor man, Kerry Mullis was his
Yeah.
name,
Yep.
and he died of pneumonia before the end of and
Just before all of this
yeah,
hit.
yeah.
Yep.
So
Interestingly
and
enough.
so that's why I put stationary earthers in with the people not going along with this, as in the same,
Yeah.
because we're the dirtiest, the dumbest, we're the filthiest, we're the scum of the earth. That's what we are. Yeah, we know the truth, and
Well, yeah, they gotta turn. You know what I did? I did a research. I did a Google search on the word human, and do you
yeah,
know what came up?
I think
Like,
I think I heard what
you,
was it?
you know what I'm gonna say about that? Yeah. So all these like monsters and like deformed people came up. Not like cartoon characterizations of you know humans, but they were all like looking like monsters and um, very unintelligent creatures, And I was like, that's how they view us. So if they don't. What the people do not understand is that the government, or I shouldn't just like put a blanket statement out there, but the media, this whole hoax. They're not here to be your buddies. They don't care about you. I think, wasn't it Kissinger called us worthless eaters
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something like that? And so the people are following these people that do not give a rat's ass about them.
Right.
And
That's what's
you're
so disconcerting to all of us. How do you follow these
exactly
people? They're still lying
right.
about 9/11. They're still lying about JFK's. The only truth
Yeah,
we ever saw, the only truth we ever heard on the TV, as far as I'm concerned, since I was born, was when Lee Harvey Oswald said, "I'm a patsy." That's the only truth
right,
we ever heard. We're all patsies at the end of the day because
right.
they don't want us to know anything. And I
Well, I
think, by
think
the
they
way,
bring up that whole thing too. Go ahead.
when Jacob Rubenstein shot Lee Harvey Oswald, I think now when I look back at it, that was staged. I don't think he did.
Oh, totally,
There's
totally
no blood
staged.
at all. So when you look
Right.
back with an open mind, you start looking at everything, and it's like the moon landing. The moon landing's the biggest, greatest thing
Yep.
that NASA did. And what did they do? They lost all their footage of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to go back to the whole Warren report too, because you bring up a seriously important point. This goes to the whole Lee Harvey Oswald, the lone shooter, and the people of the time. The Warren report came out. This was a government document that came out and said, this is what happened. Here's what we found. It was a lone shooter, and he's dead now, kind of a thing. And the people started critically analyzing this, and they're like, how could there be two? How come there's more evidence than what you're telling us? And so they started to say, we don't buy it. And then they came out with this document called 1035-960.
Right,
It's a
right. I think I
CIA
know where you're
document.
going there.
Yep. And they started to basically weaponize the term conspiracy theorist, meaning
Exactly.
if you don't go with the official narrative, then we are going to label you. We're going to tell people how to discredit you. And one of the ways they're going to do that is they're going to say, "Oh, how many people would have to be in on it? You're obviously motivated by money to portray these nonsensical things. We've had our people look into it, and you know they're highly educated. I mean, you can go through this whole CI document, and you're going to see it was a psychological operation, and they're doing the same thing with people
Well,
who believe in a stationary Earth,
well,
right?
yeah.
Oh, how many people have to be in on it?
And look at fake book when they have the fact checkers.
Yeah.
And
Oh, right,
what they are
right.
fact blockers, folks. They
Hmm.
block the truth. They're not checking on it because every time by the way, folks, for your knowledge, I am
Yeah.
kicked off fake book. I've been kicked off for good. So
Wow.
I'm a proud member of that club, by the way. And if you
Wow.
want to find me, I'm Lee Nemo now.
Wait, what happened? So, can you tell everybody what kind of happened? How
Oh,
did they?
well, listen, I was in fake book jail from 2014 to 2016 when I started exposing the 6 million mantra of World War II. I've been
Mhm.
always put in jail for exposing all the lies of 9/11.
Yep.
I've been in a lot of truth movements, by the way. Everyone I've been kicked out of or I left on my own accord. And the reason is I have an open mind to look at everything. And most truth movements that I've been in, nobody wants to look at everything. They don't want to
Yeah.
get to the bottom of it. And just like now, there have been a few doctors that have made. I've seen a few that have made jokes of flat earthers when they're talking about the truth about what's going on now. but they have to use that as science. See that they a roundabout way they say there's science going on because we know this isn't the science that they're using, and they're criticizing the people in charge, but then they use flat Earth as an example to say, look,
Right.
we're not going that way. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, like that's too far gone.
Right.
That's
So I don't
way
know
too
why
far
they
gone.
have to bring flat earthers up as the bad guys during this thing that's going on right now. See what I'm
Well, 'cause
saying?
it's the big granddaddy of all deceptions. I mean, if you get people to realize, hey, the place where you've been told you live is not real the way they say it is, and then you start to question everything, and they're desperately afraid of that. They do not want people to question, their pocketbooks and all this other stuff, because it's not just about being evil. I mean, there has to be some other kind of motivation for them to keep going on with this. And one of which is they make a bunch of money. I
Well,
mean, just follow the pharmaceutical industry. Their goal is for profit. So do you think that they're going to keep you well or not have some side effects where they get more kickbacks? That's the name of the business game.
well, like you
So
said,
it's about money.
they don't have cures. They treat you. They don't have cures.
Right.
And
Disease care.
yeah, and it's just amazing to me though how even if you're just watching the TV today, wouldn't it dawn on you at some point in time? But that 5-hour video that guy made was about resets, and that I don't know his name off the top of my head,
Mudflood.
but
Yeah.
I mean, this is another reset, and there's been resets a long time ago in history, and
Tower of Babel.
they're called the controllers basically, and for whatever reason they want to do this now, and that's why.
Sorry, hang on 1 second, John.
The Great
What happened?
Flood,
What happened?
Tower of Babel.
What happened?
Those are resets.
Yeah, I know.
Tower of Babel, Great Flood.
We lost our guest.
There we go. There, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, my power went out.
Oh, well, do you want to?
Not out. No, it didn't go out. I mean, I'm in my car. Just my cord was going low. So I'm gonna plug it back in. Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm gonna.
It's a black hole song.
Let's play Black Holes now. The song that I wrote in 2017. Now the NASA gets 64 million a year, but listen to all the black holes that we have to go through.
Got it.
Black holes. It's time to address the black holes in our lives. Let's expose the truth they suppress, their money-grubbing parasites. Chemo, will they ever confess it never has saved a life? Did you know that NASA gets 52 million a day to lie? Freemason magic is behind it all. It's pure satanic. It's time for their fall. They fill their black holes with all the money that they need to maintain their power of deceitful greed. Deceitful greed. Black holes, it's time that we face. They're right here in plain sight. There is no outer space. Terror hoax of the 9/11 lies, spending trillions, killing millions as troops are sent to die. Did you know that the trillions in debt is the Fed's design? They love to see us sweat. We're controlled by 1% or less. We're fools to let them rule. It's time for their arrest. Freemason magic is behind it all. It's pure satanic. It's time for their fall. They fill their black holes with all the money that they need to maintain their power of deceit. It's time for their fall. They fill their black holes with all the money that they need to maintain their power of deceitful greed. Deceitful greed. Yeah.
Yeah, that song. Every time I hear it, I want to sing along.
I know it's catchy.
Yeah, well, all my songs are catchy. That's why they don't like
Yeah.
me. They don't like me because I write catchy truth songs. And I want to talk about one of the chapters here in the book Edward Henry wrote about scientific proof the Earth does not move. All the experiments that tried to prove the Earth was moving failed, and that it was rotating failed. The most famous one was some people call it Michelson-Morley. I always call it Mickelson-Morley because I know Phil Mickelson, the golfer, so I always call it after him. But they tried to prove that it was rotating, and they came up short. And are you going to go through all the experiments to do that on your shows?
Yeah, so I love Michelson Morley. I call it Michelson Morley because they found that it was the luminescent ether that was actually moving. Yep, we are going to cover that, and we have a few other ones too that are they're they're just slam dunks. They're absolutely slam dunks of what we've been told about planes and flying, and so we tackle that. What I love about this series is that it's boots on the ground. We're not just talking theoretical. We're actually going out and performing experiments ourselves, and it's kind of, it's busting the myth busters, if you will.
Right.
And yeah, so that was a really good experiment. Michelson Morley, you have the Michelson Gale, you have of course, Eratosthenes with the sticks and stuff like that. And what's interesting that people don't know is that that experiment, people like to use the shadows. They went out and they conducted these shadows, and it proved that the Earth was a ball and that the sun was a million miles away. Well, what
93
they
million
didn't tell
miles.
you, yeah, 93 million miles away. What they didn't tell you is that it works with a close sun too.
Right.
Actually, Neil deGrasse Tyson admits to that. He does admit to it could work with a closed sun and a flat Earth. So,
Well,
what
RV
happened after
RV
the
Truth has them actually saying it's flat. RV Truth has
Yeah.
a video of that.
Oh, right. Right. He does it. Stuff is flat. So, what they don't understand is that we're a threat, because if we weren't a threat, they wouldn't censor us. So that's what they're trying to do. And what our goal with the Flatlanders series is that, we're not going to be on YouTube because we'll just get shut down. So we're just doing our own. We're going out and we're gonna get our own distribution. And if we have to, we'll get our own servers and we'll host it there, because they're not going to stop the truth. They may try to hurt us. And then that begs the question even further. Well, if we're just a bunch of stupid bumbling idiots out there, just let us dig our own grave. But no,
Right.
they have to censor us. They have to make us say, "Oh, they're stupid. You're not credible. She's crazy. She won't wear a mask." They did. They did this huge campaign on me, which
Oh, they showed you weren't
yeah, the
wearing
whole
it. Yeah.
Gelson's thing. Yeah, the whole Gelson's thing, and I just say, I want to be a voice for the voiceless, the people who are too, maybe they can't stand up or they're too afraid. They're closet flat earthers, and they don't want to lose their relationships with their families, and they don't want to be ostracized, because it's not fun to be ridiculed and all that stuff. But at this point, I take it on because it's the truth, and the truth, it matters. Because if it didn't matter, then what is the freaking point of any of all this? I think in these last days we're called to stand up for truth and be a light on a hill. And I'm a big fan of Jesus in the Bible, and he says, you're going to be persecuted for my name's sake. You're going to be out there and people are going to make fun of you, and they're, because you're a beacon, you're a light, you're going against the grain. And we're not trying to hurt anybody. That's the thing. We don't want to hurt anybody. We just want people to wake up to the truth because we think that matters. We think where you are in this building proves there's a builder, and
Right.
you're not just spinning out of control. I like what Edward Henry said. You brought him up about the whole Kabbalah is how this ball thing came about. It wasn't through, 500 years ago. This has been going on. It's a spiritual battle, and there's enemies out there that want to try to discredit the creator. And so we're kind of his ambassadors, if you will, on this earth. We want people to know where they live, that there's a builder, you have a purpose for your life, and and to tell other people so that they can become free from the lies. And I love what you're doing, John. You're out there. You've taught me a lot. You've told me always be your own truth movement, because not everyone's going to agree with you. Not everyone is going to support what you do. You might go off the deep end or whatever. You can't be afraid to be your own truth movement and to share with others. And that's the whole point of activism, getting out there, telling people the truth about where we live. And when you teach people the truth about where we live, they open their eyes and they see the truth about a lot of other things. And guess what? They're afraid. They're afraid of people waking up, which is why they try to keep us down with television, down with bad food, down with education. I want to go back to that education thing with the kids wearing masks at school. I will say this: the coronavirus, when the kids actually had to not go to school anymore and they were basically locked down, that was probably one of the only blessings in all of this, is that the kids actually got to go and not be indoctrinated in a facility where they were just doing that. But then when the kids had to go back and wear masks, it was like even worse. These kids are being treated like prisoners.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Let them breathe. Let them breathe, these little kids. It's just so sad. But yeah, so I've always homeschooled my kids, so for my children during the lockdown, which, we didn't lock down. We just went and did other things. We went to the beach, we'd go to the park, and they tried to shut all that down too, which they did. But then we just started like living even more and letting people know we're not going to comply with this bullshit mandate. That's not true.
You know what I tell people? Don't homeschool, unschool your kids. That's what I tell them. I mean, they go further, man. I mean, I just turned 69 this year, and I'll tell. And well, you see my birthday show. They cut down they stopped it on the last song, by the way. I won't say what. Yeah, I got cut. If anyone's seeing me for the first time, all 12 of my CDs are censored. I'm kicked off of Facebook. I hope you realize what a bad man I am to the future of the world. But
well, what's great is you're out here doing this stuff.
And I'm pushing back.
Yeah.
Okay, I had about 15 to 20 customers. When I get to the house, they wanted me to wear a face diaper. And I said no. And then they said, well, we don't want you coming in. I said, well, if you think I'm going to make you sick, then I'm leaving. Goodbye. And right. everybody should push back. I have a song. In fact, I was maybe going to play that tonight too, but it's called Push Back. We all have to push back. Every single body. It doesn't matter on a big pushback or a little pushback. If it, like when this started, every non-essential business that they told were non-essential should have said, no, I'm staying open. You say, hey, well, why this? I have to make a living. And two of my heroes was the guy in Jersey who had that gym, the big strong guy with the long beard, and he said he never shut down, and they left him alone. And then there's a guy in L.A. who had the restaurant, the Italian restaurant, and he said his workers were healthier last year because they didn't shut down, and they wouldn't let anybody with a face diaper in the restaurant.
I love it.
So that's what everyone should do. Here in Vegas last year, the tourism went down to zilch, and you just think all the money lost. But again, it's a reset. What it is there is a definite. The governments are all in on this, and they saw it coming. Rockefeller Lockstep document of 2010. Look it up. They say, how are we going to get a pandemic going? And then Event 201 before, and it ended at 2019. That was right after Gary Mullis died, and then he did the round table, how are we going to get this going? And we can find this. I mean, here's the thing that gets me: is so many people. If I start telling people about all this stuff, like you're talking about the blue beam, about the document, how the CIA we know came up with conspiracy theorists. I say no. I'm a critical thinker. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a critical thinker.
So, John, real
What's
quick,
it?
can I explain to you about the school systems? Think about in the 1900s when they first set up the school systems. It was for factory workers because they needed factory workers. And
Yeah, that's
had them in
true.
a line and then ringing the bell and just getting them used to that system, right?
Right.
And now the new system, the new schooling system, is a distancing system because everything's going towards AI.
Right.
They
Yeah.
don't
Well,
need
that's
people
that's
anymore.
that's what I was going to. The next thing is that they started outsourcing, and thank you. That was Sasha, by the way, who came in on this.
Yeah, we love Sasha.
So the outsourcing of jobs started in the late 70s or 80s, and the outsourcing of jobs to overseas for here, because the last place that they wanted to take over is right here where we live, because they knew if they could take this over, then all the countries. And now my good friend in Australia tells me all the stuff they're doing down there. It's ridiculous. You can't even move down there. I mean, it's
Yeah.
and in Canada, same thing. I mean, so. But Sasha brought up a good point. I'm going to give him an extra $40 tonight for that. But here's the thing, folks. You got to be your own. Remember, I came up with this.
Yeah.
I will not.
John Truth, remember.
I will not wear a face diaper. I will not get tested, and I will not get the jab because my healthcare provider tells me not to, and my healthcare provider is me. I do not go with any of this stuff. It's not. None of it's healthy, and it's just mind-boggling. And the same thing with I tell people: if you really believe we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, just ask yourself why you don't feel it. If you're on a train and you stick up and go on top of it, you'll feel it moving.
Yeah,
if you're in a
you'll
car,
feel it, God,
roll
yeah.
down your windows, you move it. It's all part of the making people dumb down. And another Mark Twain quote. I don't know if you know this one. When you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to pause and reflect. If you find yourself wearing a face diaper, I want you to pause and reflect.
Well, I really challenge people with this idea that where do you draw the line? Where is your personal line that you are not going to cross?
Right, exactly.
And
That's a good
what
point.
they're going to keep taking from you. You think it's going back to normal. It's not. We have a little window right now, but their goals are not to let up. They
Right.
will not let up. And so if you start saying no to the easy stuff, then it's going to be easier to say no to the harder stuff. But when you go along to get along and you say, "Oh, it's just a mask," and I want to love my neighbor and crap like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
then you're going to start complying and let them continue to brainwash you and continue to, before you know it, people are in isolation camps and people, think, "Oh, that can't happen to
Well,
me,"
think about
because
9/11. The Patriot Act was after 9/11, and when they
right
take
after
when they take your rights, some of them they never give them back to you. When they take your
they
freedom,
don't.
they don't give nothing back to you. And
And
so
what do
it's a
they?
continuation 20 years later after. And if, by the way, if anyone watching this believes any of the official story of 9/11, whew, are you?
Right.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
so they use that against us. They call us science deniers. They call us, dangerous and all this stuff. See, they're dangerous. They're science deniers. They don't believe the Earth is a spinning ball like we told them, even though we have pictures. You don't believe the official story. It all comes down to the official story. But I tell everyone, where is your line? What do you teach your children? And what do you teach them to what? Think for themselves, resist consensus, trust your senses, right? And the government doesn't want us to do that. They want us to not believe what you see. Just trust us. You can. This goes back to the Catholic Church. The whole thing about, well, back in the day, we had to keep people in the dark so that they didn't know how to interpret the Bible. So they couldn't read it. They had to come to us for interpretation. And we tell them whether or not through money, if they could buy their way to heaven. Okay.
Right.
And so
And
then people woke up and they're like, no, I can read for myself. I know that doesn't say that at all.
That's the
So
beast system, Shelley.
and then
that is the beast
and
system.
then
Yep.
and then they hid the Book of Enoch. They hide a lot of the
They
books
hide
from
it. Yeah,
everybody.
they hide it. And so it comes down to like, okay, so if you're going to like you said early on, the sun is 93 million miles away and we're traveling all these different directions and it's rocket science. You can't possibly know. As soon as they start saying rocket science, people start tuning out. They've been conditioned to believe they're not smart enough to understand that 8 inches per mile squared is basically, for all practical purposes, the curvature equation for the Earth. And you can actually go out and see that ship go over the horizon and zoom it right back in. And so if there is no curve, there is no ball. But no, they don't want you to think like that. They want you to think, oh, I have to go to a rocket science because they're too smart. They're smart. I don't know enough. And it's all bullshit. You
Right.
know, you can trust your senses. You know you're not moving. Oh, that's theory of relativity. They gave this that after the Michelson-Morley
Yeah,
experiments came out.
that's what Einstein took out the ether of
That's
the
when he took it
equation,
out.
and he took it
Yep,
out,
took
and
it out, and
that
they gave this guy Einstein this all this credibility, and he's just like, he said
yeah.
he he didn't know hardly anything,
Well,
you
yeah,
know.
it doesn't end with. Well, look at like Shakespeare wasn't real. I mean, Shakespeare. I don't know who was Shakespeare, but everything that you really research, like the Titanic's a great story. In the 1890s, there was a book called The Titan. It was a ship that went down because it hit an iceberg in the 1890s,
Oh,
and then 1912, the Titanic, and they changed the. Yeah,
what?
yeah. I mean, listen,
Oh,
I don't. David
you're
Weiss and I
blowing my
had a
mind
great
now.
we had a great conversation once. What do we believe now? I think we came down to the pilot Sully landing on the Hudson. That was
Yeah,
about
I
it. But
remember
then
that.
when Tom Hanks was in the movie, then I started getting suspicious about that too. And but the thing about the guy landing on the Hudson, that was an easier piloting skill right there than we're supposed to believe the hijackers did from 30,000 feet.
Oh,
Because Sully's taking off, he loses the engines, he banks, lands on the Hudson. Now these
yes.
guys are up and they had no piloting skills and they're supposed to be flying from 35,000 feet. Going, Geronimo, we're heading to the towers.
Yeah,
There's no way,
right.
okay?
Well,
But
I think
I
the
gotta
more
watch
important is the
it's,
Pentagon.
and I
That's where
never
he's
thought
at.
I'd be having a show where I gotta watch everything I say so I don't upset
Oh.
anybody. Jeez.
Well, don't rock the boat, Johnny. You rock the boat, they're gonna like just censor us even more. That's the thing. We have to be not afraid, and you're not. You're
Well, I'm not
totally like
afraid.
out there. I love it. But a lot of people are like, "Oh, they're gonna take my job away. They're gonna take my livelihood away."
Sounds like
And the
communism.
Yeah, well,
communism, absolutely.
divided
I
states of communist America. That's where we are right now. But
right, right. The divided states.
yeah,
Um,
but now go
You
back
said
to
take your job away and all that. Continue. Sorry,
go,
Shelley. I didn't
go
mean to interrupt.
Shelley,
that's okay.
go when you start in. What's the exact day that it's the August is? Do you have the exact date that you're launching?
Yeah, so August 20th is the first episode. We're going to be taking on Take on the World in Ohio. It's going to be a private viewing, and then we'll come back and probably premiere it at Flat Earth Pizza, which is in Nevada. Big plug for Flat Earth Pizza, Ryan Walker.
Where?
Woo!
He's got,
Yeah,
No.
yeah,
Flat Earth
he's,
Pizza.
yeah,
Where is
yeah.
that? Here in Vegas? Where?
No,
No.
California.
No, yeah,
Oh,
he's in Reno.
Oh,
oh,
Reno.
Reno,
Oh,
Yeah,
Reno.
that
Carson,
is
Carson
in
City.
Nevada.
Yeah,
Well, okay.
Carson
We'll
City.
have to drive up.
Oh, yeah, we'll come for sure.
Yes, yes.
When is
So
it?
we'll
Give
have
us
a,
that date
you
again,
know,
Shelley.
August
his
20th
name's
is in
Ryan Walker.
Ohio, and
His name's
then
Ryan Walker, and he's the owner of Flat Earth Pizza, and he will be hosting our premiere in Nevada. And in fact, this is such a crazy story. When I first said I'm going to be doing a documentary, I said I want to do a grassroots movement. I want people in the community to basically help with what their skills are and share their story. And that's another thing with Take on the World. We want people to come out to our booth and share your story. We want to document that. We want to take it and put it in our series. And so your voice can be heard. If you feel comfortable enough to do that, we want that. But so I started reaching out and people just started saying, I want to help. I want to like share my story. I'm a physicist. I'm a pilot, and you want to be interviewed. I want to be a part of the observation committee and all this stuff. So we try to pull all that together. And Ryan Walker comes out and he's like, "Hey, I have a place called Flat Earth Pizza in Carson City, Nevada, and you're welcome to do your premiere here." And I was like, "Wow!" So I was out on the Salt Flats in Utah. A friend of mine says, "Hey, you want to meet up for Flat Earth Pizza on Sunday?" I'm like, "I just so happen to be passing through there. Yeah, I'll meet with you." So my friend Michelle Silva and I meet at Flat Earth Pizza, and I went to go meet the owner, Ryan Walker, and I said, "Hey, are you the owner?" And, we're excited to do our premiere. And as I'm interviewing him, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I know you. I know you from somewhere. Where did you grow up?" And turns out we went to high school together.
Oh,
We didn't
you're
go to the same high
kidding.
school, but we went to the same church, and we did
Oh
a
my
driving
God.
tour. And I was like, I totally know you. And
Right.
so it's just a
It's
small
from the same
world. And
class? From the same class
no,
too?
he's class of 90. I'm class of 91. But I dated one of his friends, who probably wishes to remain
Oh,
anonymous.
okay.
But
We don't.
yeah, so we have like the same circle of friends, and yeah, so we've just been just so exciting to just continue on with that relationship. And um so what he's hosting it now, so he'll be hosting the Flatlanders. It's
Now,
called
Give us
Flatlanders
that
the
date again.
series.
date. What's the date? August 20th,
Oh,
first in
yeah,
Ohio.
August 20th in Ohio, and then when we get back, we'll announce the date at Slaughter's Pizza. But it's going to
Awesome.
be there.
Well, we're gonna
Yeah,
show up for
yeah.
sure.
Okay, we're gonna have to come up then.
You bet. I hope you come
Me
up.
and Sasha.
So, yeah, that'd
Fun
be great.
road
I would
trip.
Hey,
love
wait a
that.
minute. I think we'll bring the guitars and we're gonna play some live music. Then I think we ought to.
That's awesome.
We'll have to
That
start
would be
practicing, huh?
perfect.
Yeah,
I
we can
love it.
practice for a show now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Yes. Yes. That would be so fun. I would love that. Well, you're not that far from me. I want to come out to Vegas and say, hey.
Anytime.
I'm down in Southern Cal right now, but we've just been burning the midnight oil trying to like meet all these deadlines, and it's been like having a baby for sure, because you have to, you give so much to this production, which we are doing, but
Right.
we want it to be good quality, and we really want to get the word out there, and we just want it to be compelling enough that people will consider, and we expect to have a lot of people out there ridiculing us, but we don't care, because we know that we're going to reach enough people that
Well,
will need to
you
hear the truth.
mentioned something. I'm not even when I'm in houses and when I'm done. I'm not afraid to talk about anything with people.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of looks at me, obviously. But I'll tell you, when I handed out 9/11 Truth DVDs, I did that from about 2003 to 2016, and I'd get all kinds of profanities yelled at me. That's when I really got thick skin, because what I really got upset with were the people that walk by and they say, "Well, I know all about that." About 9/11
Mm,
Truth. And I'd say, "Well, what are you doing about it?" I
yeah.
said, "Why don't you take some of the DVDs?" "Oh, I already know all that." "Well, what are you doing about it?"
Mm,
This is the thing that
right.
we all have problems with. Anybody that wants to speak up, I speak about everything, and I try to write a song about all kinds of truth movements, and it's just amazing to me that so many people are so afraid to speak up. They don't want to upset anybody. You know what I always tell people? Upset them, upset
Yeah.
them. Give
Yeah.
them, give them something. Make them think. Oh, I just, I don't know. Like during this whole thing that we're just going through now, I had, oh, what do you think about this? And I go, it's a hoax. It's 100% hoax.
Yeah.
They go, well,
Right.
I don't know. Well, I know. And they look at me like, how do you know? Well, it's not hard to see.
Yeah.
This one's easy as pie. This whole thing, Doctor, I'm Billy.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know the history of. We had a snake oil salesman 100+ years ago, John D. Rockefeller. Now we got two snake oil salesmen, and you know the names of them, and
Yeah.
and and it's just mind-boggling how people think. Well, I don't know. I always say this too. Then I say I think you can trust your piano tuner a lot more than these people.
Yeah.
I'm looking
Right.
out for you. You want to
Hmm.
trust these guys trying to tell you to do all this stuff? Then go ahead. You
Yeah.
know.
It feels like, how many rooftops do we need to shout from, John?
Well,
I
you
feel
got
like
to
we've
keep
been
doing
doing
it.
it a long time. Yeah. And we have been, and that's the thing, and that's the censorship. They're trying to censor us because they know that our message is going to ring loud and clear to the people who need to hear it. Now, there's going to always be those people who are just like, I'm just going to go along to get along. I don't really care.
Yeah, get
I'm trying
along
to
to
like
get
feed my
along.
family. Well, you're going to be in trouble when they come down for the next lockdown, because it's coming. They're not going to stop. They're giving you a little window right here, but it's going to come back down. And then can you imagine these businesses that couldn't sustain the first lockdown? They're going to be
It's
locked down again. Yeah, so I tell people, you better freaking wake up now, because when this first thing hit, I was screaming at people like, wake up. This is a
yeah.
hoax. No people are
I
dying
quit screaming though
from,
myself. It's like,
yeah, there's no more people dying from normal from
Flu.
the year prior.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
the flu just happened to go away. And that's because they were wearing masks.
Yeah, that's a
Actually,
nurse told me that. That was because the masks were working. I said, "Are you kidding? Are you? How dumb
no,
can you be?" Jesus.
no, these people are just totally losing it, man. It's just mind-boggling. And
Well,
you almost have to laugh or you cry because it's just like, are you kidding me? But I want to just say the people who you are called for this time in your life, you were placed on this earth for this time. What are you going to do? And where is your line? Are you willing to stand up for truth?
that's
Or
a
you just
that's a
don't
great
have
way to
enough?
say it. Where's your line? That's what I got to start
Yeah.
doing. It. Can I use your
Yes, of
can
course.
I say Mark
Of
Twain said, or
course.
say Sherry Lewis or Shelley Lewis?
Sherry Lewis, me
Did you
that
Hey,
say Jerry
we gotta get
Lewis?
it
yeah, Jerry
on.
Lewis. Jerry Lewis. Hey, listen, and that's what my calling has been, to write songs about all this stuff. And the next song, I don't know if you've heard this one. It's called "Believe What You See." The opening line, I say, "It starts today that you are born. The lies come at you fast." We're gonna play "Believe
Mm.
What You See"
So no
now.
space first.
Okay,
No, no,
good.
we're gonna play "Believe What You See" right now.
All right, let's hear it.
It starts the day that you are born. The lies come at you fast. They tell you what is, isn't the norm. Confusion is what lasts. The American dream is too far gone. We work so hard until you can't go on. To the corporatists, it's all understood as we've become their damaged goods. Believe in what you see. Don't believe in what they tell you. Deceiving is what they do whenever they try to sell you. We're so doped with religion, sports on TV, game shows dummy down past. Our number one export to other countries, our weapons pass the test. We all need to take off the rose-colored glasses. We all need to listen to ourselves. We all need to speak the truth in masses. We all need to have our hearts felt. Believe in what you see. Don't believe in what they tell you. Lying words, that's all we've heard. Whenever they try to sell you, believe in what you see. Don't believe in what they tell you. Lying words, that's all we've heard. Whenever they try to sell you. Starts the day that you are born. The lies come at you fast.
Yes, the lies come at you fast. Shelley, are you still there? Did she leave?
She might have left, huh?
I don't know.
I'm here.
Okay, Shelley, where'd you
Yeah,
go?
I had to. Well, I had to make sure my phone was still plugged in.
Oh, okay. I thought
I'm
you
in my
left.
car
I
here.
thought you left abrupt. Last week,
They
David.
grabbed me. I'm out of here. That's Shelley
Last
Lewis
week, David
comment.
Weiss
That's
left
bad enough.
abruptly too. David Weiss all of a sudden said, "Hey, I gotta go. Bye." And all of a sudden, oh, well, I guess you gotta
Like,
go.
what the heck?
I thought maybe
No,
you went too the same way.
that Shelley Lewis comment. I'm having a hard time, man. I don't know if we're even. I don't think so. I'm
Well,
just kidding.
you have. She wasn't a very good ventriloquist, but she was very cute. She was cute as can be, and she had that
Oh,
little
God.
lamb chop.
Oh,
She was on
God.
TV shows all the time back in the day. I
I
mean,
know she was back
yeah.
in the day, man. I
So,
never had a
so
serious
that's where the
like that.
Sherry Lewis came from. So I'm sorry about that.
Maybe that's. I love it.
I
I
hope,
love it.
I
You
hope
know,
you
I love
accept
you.
my
I
apology.
don't mind. I hope you accept my apology. I called you, spelled your name wrong.
Oh, you spelled my name wrong about 5, 6 times. So actually, I can call you a lot of things.
You can-
Anyway,
yeah, it's probably not. It's not
I
even
just
close
want
to you.
everybody to know that I mean, what else you want to say about the Flatlanders?
Yeah, tell us. Can
Tell
you
us
tell us any more about it?
the Flatlanders. Anything?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
you
I,
just,
I didn't get a chance to really give a shout out to Wendell Walton. He has been an incredible partner and friend and incredibly talented. I mean, the guy just, he's like a walking encyclopedia, and he really has a scientific mind. He's also very organized, which helps a lot when you're trying to put together something this massive.
right,
And so he and I have been friends for a long time. First this docu-series started off, and I had a big falling out with one of my partners, and so then I feel like I won a jackpot because I ended up getting Wendell Walton and David Hunt that have been incredible with this series, and then we've had tremendous community support. So we're so happy that we get to be able to showcase who we are. Our goal is to put a face on flat Earth and to really show the evidence in a very professionally done um, series. And we're not here to preach to the flat Earth community. Our demographic are people who are curious, who want to know more about these crazy flat earthers, and people who want to try to debunk us. That's really our demographic. So we're willing to take it on, and we'll just see where the Lord leads. I think it's His story. It really is. It's His earth. He's the creator. We have a creator, and we're His creation. And so honestly, it's like a privilege to be a part of
How many
something
episodes?
like this.
yeah. How many episodes are you gonna have? Do you think, or is it?
Well,
It's
probably
unlimited
13
episodes.
It's 13 episodes for the first season,
Oh,
and we have
13.
multiple
Okay,
seasons. And
okay.
with multiple seasons. So, and it's going to, the thing is, it just keeps going because there really is no end to this, to the truth. And as we start to uncover things like, the whole reset and things like that, as we start to dig down deeper in the rabbit hole, as David Weiss talks about, it's like it's dark, it's deep, and it doesn't really have an end.
No, it doesn't.
So, yeah, and of course they want to discount us and call us conspiracy theorists, and how stupid you have to be, and the ridicule. There's a very good quote by Gandhi, and it says, "First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win." And so I think we're at phase 3 where they're fighting us, and we're just about to win. And I personally, I think we've already won because it's I feel like we're just kind of standing on the shoulders of giants in a way.
Right.
Not to be like, have just a silly phrase that's overused. But I really do. I think that there's been tremendous work done in this community. I mean, even just I saw a YouTube about the moon. That freaking blew my mind. I mean, there's just so much more truth that keeps coming out about how the moon, they say the moon is a reflection
Yeah.
of
Oh,
the sun.
that's the 5-hour video that guy did, and then
Oh, that's
yeah,
it. Yes, that
yeah,
got
yeah.
okay. That was brilliant. I mean,
Right.
to come up with that idea, and I've always wondered about the moon. It's just mystery. Why is it always
It's a
facing
reflection of the lands
of
on
the
here. I
land?
thought that was amazing. Also,
Mind blowing.
Gandhi also say if only one knows the truth, it's still the truth. Something to that effect, I
Love it.
think.
Oh, that's a good quote too.
Yeah. Well, there's a
Yeah,
lot of good quotes
yeah.
out there.
A lot of good quotes out there, and yes, and so when you start to really wonder, it brings back wonder to our imagination. They always say, "Oh, we just need to trust us," and how many people just get so mundane? Now it's like the sky is the limit. So where do we live, and how can we figure out the rules of this earth that we live on? And Container, a contained system is going to have a gas pressure, and so how do you have a vacuum, the vacuum of space, with no container?
Right.
Here we have a vacuum chamber on this earth. In order to create a vacuum, we make this vacuum chamber, we suck all the air out, but it's
And,
got walls.
and I
So
used to give an example. Flying from New York to L.A. was an hour and a half long, or like 20 minutes longer, or something like that. But the Earth is rotating toward New York,
yeah,
and
right.
it's a trade. It's a
Sure.
trade winds, but flights make no sense on a spinning ball, and that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Going to the South Hemisphere, and I mean, I could start using example after example, and I start doing it with people, and they say, well. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Well, I do.
Right.
Just it's common sense, basically. Once you say it, it's not hard.
Right.
And
Well, I did this alien podcast show, and these guys were not flat earthers. And I'm like, I don't really know if you want me on, but a friend of mine referred me, and I said, I don't know if I'm the right person for the show. I'm a flat earther, and
right.
this alien stuff is not what I think it is. I mean, if you want to talk about demons and like entities coming through
Well, who's
portals,
in charge of this hoax right now? Those are Satanists, and those are demons. I mean,
yeah,
you
yeah,
take
right,
orders from
and
them.
Nephilim and stuff. But they were blown away because I was basically flat smacking them, and they were just like, wow, and they're like, well, does an alien agenda even kind of fit into this? I said, well, if you're talking about beings, like, of course we know that God created other beings. He created the angels and the seraphim and the all these different types of angels, not just the angels that we think of. Um, and there has to be a way for them to get here because Jesus said that we've entertained them unaware. So how do they get here, right? So there has to be some kind of portal that they can get through, or they're just supernatural beings that
Or
are
on
able
the
to
other side
travel.
of Antarctica, there's a lot of
Yes,
lands, and
there's land.
see that's the thing.
There's
Once you
more
start
land.
looking at everything, and the search doesn't end,
It doesn't
and
end.
people ask me all the time, do you do this all the time? I say, yeah, I read,
Yeah.
I hand out books all the time. I read, I like Edward's great book. I mean, it doesn't end with what you can find as being hoaxes too, and you start to realize why there were so many hoaxes of what we were taught when we're growing up. I hear some noise on there.
It's my car.
Oh,
My car. I have an electric car down here.
oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
listen.
so it's
Well, listen.
it was,
Listen, Shelley, aka Sherry.
yeah,
It's great seeing you.
me
We're gonna
too.
look forward to all the stuff coming on, and I'll be telling people about it. And by the way, I only have 95 friends on Facebook now. It's so much easier to keep track of
What's
people
your new
now.
Facebook page?
Aw.
People want to know.
Well,
Yeah, if anybody wants me on Facebook, I'm Lee Nemo as my name on Facebook.
yeah, Lee Nemo.
Nemo.
Yeah, Nemo. And if you my website is johnniems.com. The only place you can get my 12 CDs, you can download them there or buy them there. If you buy
Okay.
them there, I sign for them. And Sasha and I are working on a new song. They gave us Two Devils is the name of it. We should
Yeah.
have that done not too long ago. And you can guess who the two devils are.
Yeah.
Hey, Shelley, why don't you
The
plug
gates of
plug
hell.
Flatlanders one more time for us, please?
Yeah,
Yeah,
plug
thank you so much.
Flatlanders. Did you
Yeah,
say
you can find us on
Flatliners?
YouTube,
I said Flatlanders.
Flatlanders, the series. Or you just go to our website, flatsmackfilms.com, and you can get all the information about our updates and where our trailers are and how you can support us if you feel led to, and where you can preview our episode at Take on the World. So I'm very excited. Thank you for having me.
Hey, well,
We love you, darling.
it
You're
was
awesome.
it was
Oh,
my
I love
pleasure.
you
We're gonna
guys.
as you're going out, we're gonna get back to Space Farce, my favorite.
Okay.
We're going back to Space
All
Farce.
right, folks, thank you for everything.
Thanks for everybody coming and
right.
press the like button and the subscribe.
Hey, boys and girls, there is no outer space. We're on a flat world. They fooled the human race. We all fell for it before. No one should buy it anymore. Look up to the sky. The sun goes around you. Then look up at night. The moon is doing that too. All the Star Wars movies are lies. 'Cause space can only be in your mind. Space is a farce. There's a dome over us. NASA is a lying Freemason gang. Space is a farce. The earth was created for us. There was no Big Bang. Hey, Mom and Dads, time to wake you up. You see you've been had and programmed long enough. We all fell for it before, and no one should buy it anymore. Space is a farce. There's a dome over us. NASA is a lying Freemason gang. Space is a farce. The earth was created for us. There was no Big Bang. Space is a farce. There's a dome over us. Astronauts were never drinking Tang. Space is a farce. The earth was created for us. There was no Big Bang.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Astronauts were never drinking Tang. Always remember that. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Space is a farce.
Astronauts. That's my favorite line in that song, by the way. Yeah, listen.